It's hot again today. Is it almost 1 p.m. already? My meeting ran long. What should I do for lunch? I glanced up at the building in front of me. This luxury hotel. I remember having a meeting here with a client in the coffee lounge and was surprised that a cup of coffee cost $12. My name is Steven. After graduating from high school, I started working for a construction equipment rental company, and I've been in sales for 10 years now. I live with my younger sister, who is 7 years younger than me, and our mom. Our dad passed away from an illness shortly after my sister was born. Our family, being a single-parent household, wasn't exactly well off. My mom, who had been a stay-at-home mom, started working as a cashier at a supermarket. Given our situation, by the time I got to middle school, I felt the urge to get a job as soon as possible to help out my mom. When I said I wanted to start working instead of continuing my studies, my mom told me, "I've always hoped you and Jessica would at least finish high school. I've been saving up for your education since you were born, so please, graduate high school." I took her up on that offer. Lost in these memories, I found myself standing at the entrance of that luxury hotel when suddenly the automatic door burst open, and a woman in a dress nearly collided with me. Right next to us were some steps. I instinctively grabbed her hand and pulled her toward me. She managed not to fall down the steps, but one of her heels went tumbling down. "Oh, I'm sorry. Please, put your foot here." I pulled out a plastic sheet from my bag and placed it at her feet. "I'll get your heel right away," I said, heading down the steps to retrieve the fallen heel. When I came back up, the woman in the dress deeply bowed and said, "I'm so sorry. Really, I apologize." She was an elegant and beautiful woman, the light pink dress suiting her perfectly. "Oh, it's okay. Are you all right?" I grabbed your arm quite forcefully. "Did it hurt? Is there a bruise?" She gently rolled up her sleeve to show. "Oh, I knew it. It's turned red. I'm sorry. I pulled you too hard." "It's not a big deal. Please don't worry about it. It was my fault for rushing out like that," she said, bowing deeply again. "Excuse me. Just give me a moment." I moved a few meters away and made a call to my office. The CEO answered the phone immediately, so I quickly explained the situation. "Good afternoon. It's Steven. I had a little accident and accidentally bumped into someone, causing them to get injured." "Oh, Steven, is the other person okay?" "Yes. I'm planning to take them to the hospital now. Would it be okay if I return to the office a bit later?" "All right, please do that. Let me know the outcome." "Understood." With the CEO's approval, I went back to her. "I apologize for the wait. Just to be safe, let's head to the hospital. I'll come with you." "There's no need for a hospital. I'm fine. Please don't worry about it. If it swells up, it'll be a problem. Let's go." With that, the woman in the dress seemed quite embarrassed, but we both hopped into a cab and headed to the hospital. After the orthopedic examination, the doctor explained the situation carefully. The diagnosis was that there were no bone issues, just some internal bleeding. Afterwards, while waiting to pay, we sat down and chatted. "You know, I just learned for the first time, warming up a bruise after about the 4th day helps it heal faster." "I just learned that too." Seeing her smile made my heart skip a beat. "Oh, I forgot to introduce myself earlier. My name is Steven." "I am Catherine, right? Earlier, the nurse called you Catherine." Right after that, both of our stomachs growled at the same time. "Oh my, how embarrassing," she said with a flushed face. "It's getting late, isn't it?" We laughed, and when we checked the time, it was past 3 p.m. I told her I'd report to the office and then have lunch before returning. I invited Catherine out for lunch. After reintroducing ourselves, she began to share her story. Catherine is a 21-year-old college student. Turns out, her father is the CEO of the big company, Johnson Enterprises. She was certainly beautiful in her dress, and the term of president's daughter was apt. She was told there was a tea party at that hotel, but when she arrived, there was an unfamiliar man there, apparently set up for a blind date. I was surprised to hear that Catherine, still a student, was tricked by her parents into attending a blind date. Catherine, a blind date while you're still in college. Why would they do that? Well, my dad wanted a son to take over the business. But since I'm a girl, I can't be the next CEO, so he wants me to marry someone suitable to be the next CEO. Wait, marry someone to be the next CEO? When I rolled my eyes at the story, which seemed impossible to the average person like me, she continued her story with a downcast look on her face. Yes, there was talk that the son of one of our clients, a top executive, was looking for a match. It was surprising that, in this day and age, there were parents who would suggest a marriage without their child's consent. So you had an arranged date? Yes. After our parents exchanged pleasantries and brief introductions, they left, and after dinner, he suddenly mentioned he had booked a room upstairs in the hotel. I felt he was trying to take me there. What? That's outrageous. Yes, I was scared and ran away. When I hastily went outside, I bumped into you. I'm really sorry. Well, that's just rude and terrible. You must have had a tough time. Her face turned into a mix of worry and sadness. You know, I have a younger sister, about 7 years younger. If I ever told her to go on an arranged date, she'd probably slap me and tell me to get real. Hearing that, she burst into laughter. What a radiant smile she has. I felt my heart race again. Later, we exchanged contact information and parted ways. When I got home, I told my sister, Jessica, about the day's events. What? Seriously? An arranged date without even asking her? Who does that nowadays? That's unbelievable. Totally unacceptable, she said, clearly upset as if it had happened to her. The next day, I received an email saying she had been severely scolded by her parents upon her return home. After that incident, I heard that Catherine got a pretty serious talking to when she got home. Why? She didn't do anything wrong. It's absurd she got scolded. Maybe we should talk to her parents. That's just wrong. I'd like to chat with her. Maybe, it might be nosy, but perhaps we should give her some advice. Maybe it's fate that we met. While pondering this, I received a message from her, wanting to thank me. The following weekend, when she invited me for a meal and I told her it was Jessica's birthday and we were planning a big get-together at my place, she asked, would it be alright if I stopped by? So, I decided to invite Catherine over to my house. Come the weekend, she arrived at our home with some fancy sushi. Oh, you must be Catherine. I've heard about you from my brother. I'm Jessica, his sister. Oh, I'm sorry. It's so thoughtful of you, especially since we haven't even met before. It's okay. I'm the one imposing on short notice. Perhaps because they were close in age, to my surprise, they hit it off. Before long, they were calling each other Catherine and Jessie. Even though we just met, I was amazed at how quickly girls can bond. Watching the two of them, I smiled thinking they seemed as close as sisters. From then on, she started visiting my house every Sunday. One day, after about 3 months, Jessica suddenly spoke to me with a serious expression. Hey, what do you think about Catherine? What? So suddenly? I can tell. Catherine likes you. Wait a minute. Where's this coming from? Honestly, I was quite taken aback by this. Catherine was younger, and I thought of her as a sweet younger sister. But the affection I felt for her was different from what I felt for Jessica. Catherine is younger, and she's shy. You should confess to her. If her parents try to set her up again, it'll be too late. You'll definitely regret it. Jessica was right. But she's the daughter of a big company CEO. Love doesn't care about status. Encouraged by Jessica, I mustered up the courage and decided to confess on Christmas Eve. On our way back from dinner, I asked, Catherine, would you be my girlfriend? I don't want you to go through any arranged dates if you don't want to. She nodded emphatically and replied, thank you, Stephen. I'm so happy. The following day, the 25th, was Christmas. I introduced her to Jessica and my mom as my girlfriend. Jessica exclaimed, good for you, Catherine. Way to go, bro. My son Stephen, who, as far as I know, has never had a girlfriend in his 27 years, now has such a wonderful girlfriend. I'm so happy. My mother was also smiling and excited. My parents were fine, but the real issue was her parents. As the end of the year approached, and I pondered when to greet them, I learned her father was looking for another potential match for her, so I braced myself to meet her parents during the holiday. I visited her house on New Year's Day. I was ushered into the living room, where I said, "Hello, my name is Stephen," and handed them a gift. Her father gestured for me to sit on the couch, and I took a seat. "I have been dating Catherine since last month. My name is Stephen. I am here today to inform and greet you about this." After saying this, I could feel sweat dripping all over, despite it being the middle of winter. Suddenly, her mother said, "Well, I'm well aware. Catherine has been visiting your home frequently since last September, and I know about your family too. Of course, I've already looked into you as well." "Mom, I didn't ask about any of that. Why did you go snooping around?" Catherine exclaimed loudly in surprise. Her mother gave Catherine a stern look. "It's only natural to be concerned about my only daughter. That's a whole different issue." Catherine seemed to bite her lip as if she had more to say. "Well, in that case, I'll skip the introductions. I'd like to continue seeing Catherine seriously. That's why I took the time to come here today." Her mother frowned slightly and said, "You're aware that Catherine is the daughter of the CEO, right? Your family is just your mother and younger sister, I believe. From a not-so-wealthy household. You didn't go to college, and you work at a pretty small company. Didn't you think you might be out of your league?" Indeed, I was at a loss for words. While I was searching for a reply, Catherine glared at her mother again. "Mom, that's incredibly rude." "Rude? I'm just stating the facts." Catherine and her mother argued, while her father just watched. "Well, you're right. Since my father passed away when I was in elementary school, my mother worked part-time jobs she wasn't used to support my sister and me. I wanted to start working as soon as possible to help out, so I never considered going to college. It's also true that the company I work for is small compared to the one where her father owns." After he said this, her father chimed in. "You seem to be more than what I heard from Mr. Johnson." "Huh, Mr. Johnson? Why is my CEO's name coming out of her father's mouth?" As I wondered, the conversation continued. "I've heard you've been with Johnson Rentals for 10 years and have always been an outstanding salesman. You've studied for and obtained several certifications that would be beneficial for the job even without being told by your boss. Did you also research my wife and my preferences for the gift you brought today? Mr. Johnson has been bragging about you. He said there hasn't been a new employee more dedicated and polite than you in the past decade." Turns out, her father is an old friend of Mr. Johnson, the CEO of the company I work for. After checking into me with a private investigator, he found out I was an employee at his friend and business partner, Mr. Johnson's company, and asked about me. "You're friends with the CEO, but I might be a bit overrated." When I said that, her father stared intently at my face and responded, "With my daughter's temperament, it's just too much for her to take on the role of CEO. She's gentle and doesn't have the nature to lead or be above others. But I don't have much time left. Therefore, I've been thinking of finding a suitable son-in-law to entrust the company to. However, there are just too many unsuitable men out there, and it's been a real challenge." Hearing this wasn't only a shock to me. Catherine was also unaware of her father's illness. "Dad, is it a serious illness?" "It seems to be a brain tumor. It's in a tricky location. They say if it's short, maybe a year. If long, just a few years." "Oh no." As she spoke, tears welled up in her eyes. "So, Stephen, if marriage is an option, would you consider working for me? But if you can't see yourself getting married, I'm sorry, but I'd like you to break it off with her." Well, I never imagined the conversation would take this turn. It really caught me off guard. I decided to be honest about how I'm feeling right now. "I'm sorry. I've only known Catherine for just under 6 months. We've only recently started dating. Honestly, I'm a bit taken aback by what you've just said. I think Catherine might feel the same way. Could we perhaps have some time to discuss and decide on the future of our relationship?" When I looked over at Catherine, she was nodding in agreement. Understood. Take your time and talk it out. Let me know once you've come to a conclusion. The following year, after first visiting her house, we held our wedding ceremony right after she graduated from college. She had expressed her wish to walk down the aisle with her father. While my mother-in-law, who had hoped her daughter would marry a college-educated elite, still occasionally makes snide remarks towards me, I believe I've slowly built a trust with her father. After a while, at the strong request of my father-in-law, I transferred to Mitchell Corporation. His company deals with the production of temporary and construction materials. Having had prior knowledge about the products, I am currently being trained by the CEO's secretary, Karen, to learn the ropes of the secretary job. For Catherine's sake, for my mother-in-law's sake, and for the sake of the company, I truly hope my father-in-law lives a long, healthy life. With that in mind, I've been working hard every day to support and contribute to their lives and the company.